Welcome back. And we start this segment with our Tri-State Office Furniture tweet of the day. It's from Ken Rosenthal, who says, no one elected to the Hall of Fame. Schilling misses by 16 votes, which prompted Curt Schilling, Andrew, to tell everyone in the Baseball Hall of Fame committee, the writers, that, hey, don't even bother putting me on the ballot. I have 1 year left. I don't care. I'll go right to the veterans. They know more than you do. There are a lot of people out there who wonder about this process. Curt Schilling, Barry Bonds, who I think should be in the Hall of Fame. I realize people out there are going to say, he's a PED guy. Listen, the league took advantage of his presence. Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, all those guys, they were allowed to play. Whatever they were proven to have done, they were allowed to play. Therefore, that stuff counts. I can't understand why it takes so long and so many people, Andrew, not to understand this. And I think I'm right about this. Do you agree, or do you think I'm wrong?
No, I'm with you 100%, Bob. It's refreshing to hear a guy that you're over the age of 40 now, right?
I think so.
You're not a septuagenarian or anything like that. You know, it seems like there's a lot of old school thinking that gets applied here on this moral high ground or moral high horse that, you know, these guys cheated the game. I've heard Cook say it a million times. They don't deserve baseball's highest honor. Okay, the commissioner, the guy that watched all of this happening, all this happen, Bud Selig, you know where he is, Bob?
He's in
Cooperstown.
Yeah.
He got the ultimate honor. It was under his watch. So there's strike one against guys who want to be the ultimate gatekeeper. You know, to me, when it's prevalent in the game, and it's widespread and it's everywhere, and there wasn't testing, you know, guys were basically hand on the Bible. That was the only thing that really held them accountable, was your own morals and scruples. And a lot of guys said, no, I got to keep up with the Joneses. I want to provide for me and my family. I want to get myself rich and make millions of dollars. Everybody's doing it, so I'm going to do it too. That doesn't make it right, but it also doesn't mean that these guys should pay a lifetime ban for it as far as the Hall of Fame is concerned. In my opinion, Bonds' numbers are not tainted because the majority of players were using enough reliable narrators like Jose Canseco, for example, who has been right all along. Even though people have discredited him and blackballed him from baseball, he said from day one, more than 50% of people in the 90s, 50% of major league players were using. Bob, I take that as gospel. So if it was everywhere, if pitchers were using it, if power hitters, if speed guys, if relief pitchers, then Bonds' numbers are legitimate to me. He was no better or no worse than anybody he played against. Clemens is an all-time great pitcher. Bonds is the greatest hitter of all time. They should both be in. No questions asked.
I agree.
In my opinion.
Guess what? There are people in there who have done the same thing, and nobody knew about it. But they got away with it. There are a lot of people who get away with it, and they're going to point to whoever they want to point to. But the bottom line is they were allowed to play. And as such, you're a player who's playing, your number should count. And I think Bonds and Clemens absolutely should be in there. And I don't think there should be even a debate here. Now we're going to go with nobody in again. And we've had this happen before. So we'll see. A lot of people want to talk about this, Andrew. We got Al in Bethel Park who's first up. What's up, Al? How are you?
Hi, Al.
Bob, always love you on the show.
Thanks, man.
Andrew, I'm glad you guys mentioned the Hall of Fame. Everybody wants to talk about this moral high ground about Bob, Bonds, and Clemens. Schilling shouldn't be in there. I'll tell you why. The Baseball Hall of Fame is a fraud. Anybody who's in there pre-integration, they have races in there, people before integration, should not be in the Hall of Fame. So as long as they keep guys like Bonds and Clemens out, everybody in there before integration should be excluded. This is a double standard. I'm tired of this discussion. So until they move all the racists and everybody in before integration should not be in the Hall of Fame. I want to hear your comments. Thank you.
Well, the reason why Al brings that up, Bob, is because where and how should the morals clause be applied?
There shouldn't be a morals clause. See, I don't think there should be a morals clause because, listen, all these guys, you look at some of the guys in football and O.J. Simpson, I'll just use that as an example. People, he did what he did on the football field. What he did after is reprehensible, but he did it on the football field. Should he be just thrown out? The
Pro Football Hall of Fame doesn't have a morals code written into their standard, but I'll give you an example of an award that does, and I can tell you as a voter, I pay it no mind, and that's the Heisman Trophy. It is in the Heisman Trophy the way that it is presented to us, someone that like upholds the integrity of college football. I can tell you what, Bob, I've never one time looked at that. I give it to the player who I think demonstrated himself to be the very best over the course of the college football season. I don't care if they're, donating their time, when they're not on the football field to local charities or soup kitchens. I've never done that in my entire life. So it's such a strict interpretation of the rules. Guys hide behind it. Kennesaw Mountain Landis was the commissioner of baseball, and for decades, it's been proven. Ken Burns' baseball documentary did a great job of documenting this.
You're right.
He basically went out of his way to keep African Americans out of Major League Baseball. And if I buy a $25 ticket to Cooperstown, I'm going to see this guy's plaque right next to Jackie Robinson's.
Right.
That's an embarrassment to me. We're talking about tearing down statues and monuments across America. Why is that guy still in the Hall of Fame? So I don't really want to hear about morals clauses personally.
Well said. Steve in Moon Township joins us right now. Hey, Steve, how are you?
Doing well. I got a Pitt basketball question for you. This is the third game in a row that William Jeffries and Noah Collier did not play at all. And I think they could definitely give Pitt some help as far as size in the front court, especially against North Carolina. I was wondering if you guys might have either heard Coach Capel's post-game comments or had any inner knowledge if they're in the doghouse or there's a COVID thing. I don't know if they were related to the Hughley issue, but they haven't been used at all the past 3 games, and they definitely could help Pitt with some size in the front court.
I don't know. I didn't hear Capel after the game, Andrew. Did you? But I wondered about this Hughley issue only because – normally, if someone's involved, you wonder if other members of that team, just by happenstance, were involved in some way. I don't know what happened there, but I haven't seen those guys, and I wondered the same thing. I didn't hear an explanation, but I think they could have used some of those guys, especially in the weight game and tonight as well. I mean, you needed as many players as you could, and if you rely just on 1 or 2 against a good team like North Carolina, even though they're unranked, I think you're going to pay a price for that.
Well, North Carolina under Roy Williams in the last few years have been pretty much the biggest team in college basketball. And you better get, you get one shot of possession, you better hope it goes in because they're going to pull down the rebound. And so that's what you run into when you play North Carolina. The question every coach has to ask himself is, do I sacrifice maybe my most talented 5 guys on the court for a bigger lineup? And, the players that the caller brought up, to me, I just don't think, yeah, they're big, but you're throwing them to the wolves. These are men. I mean, North Carolina's big men are not, freshmen. Garrison Brooks is a guy that's been through the battles before. So, yeah, it'd give you more size, but I don't think that they necessarily would have done a better job. Pitt needs to get the ball to Champagnie more. That's one of my quick answers here the last 2 games. You've got a guy who obviously is a great player, but might not have that alpha. He doesn't have that, the late Kobe Bryant, a year anniversary, Bob. Kobe's going to get in his teammate's face if he's not getting the ball. You know what I'm talking about?
I want the ball.
Yeah, Champagnie's not that type. But, it's incumbent on 2 people, in my opinion, Jeff Capel and Xavier Johnson, to make sure that Champagnie's basically touching the ball every time Pitt has the ball.
Yeah, Xavier Johnson's done a pretty good job normally in that situation, but here's another play of just what he can do. He hit those threes, and then all of a sudden he takes the defender to the hole and he beats him, and then he puts it away with authority. I agree with that, but I do think they also need a little bit more bench help in games like this. We have a tweet here from Kevin Davis. This is on the Hall of Fame. He says, guys, if they put the alleged cheaters in the lineups every day, meaning Cox, Torrey, and LaRussa, they're in the Hall, then why shouldn't the players who they put out there every day? So again, this was something that happened at the time. They weren't being tested at the time. They were allowed to play, therefore their stats should count. We're going to take a break. We're up against it. Back with more of your calls right here on Pittsburgh CW.